beautiful goddesses. We are here to share with you like a really cool trick that you can use in your journey because this is something that's revolutionary for me, love. I don't know about you, but I always want to get to the place where I'm untouchable. I don't want to be touched by anyone. I don't care what kind of lower vibration anyone is in. I want to get to a place where no one can touch me. And let's face it, there's triggers that come up, there's programming that comes up, and there's things that come up within us without us ever really like having full control of it or even not even know it's there. And so we have a couple examples for you guys, and then we're going to guide you on how we get out of it. But essentially, my goal is always to get to a place where I am untouchable, because there's nothing that anyone can do or say to me that should sway or touch my peace. My peace is who I am. I am soul. And so it doesn't matter if there's chaos around me. It doesn't matter if someone is angry. It shouldn't lower my scale of consciousness, because if I'm lowering it, I'm choosing to lower it. And that's fine if it's doing that. But as the conscious observer who is peace, love, joy, who is neutrality, I want to be able to get to a place where I'm untouchable. And so me and Elizabeth always talk about that. And now that we're listening to our inner being, we're listening to these triggers that come up, we're learning how to get to this place where nothing can touch us, where you really become the goddess that you are, the God source energy that you are, and you no longer are swayed by emotions. You observe them. And so here's a cool trick that we kind of just went through. Elizabeth called me yesterday and she was like, I don't know what's happening, but this is how I feel and I can't explain it. And so let's kind of talk about that, love. And let's share with everyone how you were able to use the scale of consciousness to get out of that energy. Go ahead, love.
Okay. So first I want to go back a step and say, when you really start doing this inner work with yourself, and you really start feeling into energy, right? Because everything's energy. And when you start feeling into what is the energy I'm experiencing right now, you have two, right? You have two main energies. You have energies of fear, which are mind, and you have energy of love, which is soul. And so when you really start doing this inner work, you start feeling into the energy that's coming up for you. So for the most part, most of the days, I feel amazing. I really do. I feel really balanced. I feel really good. I sort of sit in a place of neutrality or peace. That's sort of where I hover each day. And last night something happened and it triggered me, and I didn't know what the trigger was. Like I knew what had triggered me, but I didn't know what the underlying root cause of the trigger was. And I couldn't figure it out. Usually I'm pretty deep with myself, and I will get deep with myself if something happens. But I felt the energy and it was really heavy and it was sitting in my stomach and it felt really gross, like really toxic. The energy that was coming up for me was really toxic and I didn't like it. And I wanted to work through it and release it rather than what I would have done, a couple years ago, which is sort of just push it down and try to forget about the trigger and I don't want to think about this, and just sort of shove that energy back down. So last night, the first step I did was, okay, I'm going to journal this as soul. I'm going to journal this as the third party observer. And I started doing that. And, I got a little bit deeper within myself, but I still couldn't figure out the root cause of this energy that was sitting so heavily in me. So I call you, Joanne, and I did the whole, something triggered me and I really want to figure out what the root cause of it was. So you and I sort of talked about it, and literally within 5 minutes, I looked down, 5 minutes, you would help me dig deep within myself and figured out what had been the impetus for this trigger. And what was really cool, and you had done this with me a week ago with another trigger I'd had, because, we're human, mind comes up and we have a lot of triggers to release, right? We have a lot of stored energies that need to be released. you told me, pull up the Scale of Consciousness by David Hawkins, and you're going to see all of the different energies and what their vibrations are. And the lowest energy is shame. And then it sort of works its way up from there. And then you'll see where the energies shift from the energies of mind to the energies of soul. So last night, once you had helped me realize what the root of this trigger was, I wanted to see what the energy was of the trigger, what I was feeling, what was so heavy in my stomach. So I pulled up that Scale of Consciousness, and I realized the first thing that popped out, which is shame, the lowest. And I don't really feel this energy very often, but it struck me, and I was like, that's what I'm feeling. I'm feeling shame. I was embarrassed. I had a lot of shame. And I also was feeling anger and pride, which are way up higher on the scale than shame. But the majority of what I was feeling and experiencing was shame. And that's why it was sitting so heavy. And that's why it was so uncomfortable to even sit with, and why I knew I needed to release it. And once you can sort of identify what is causing this energy to spike within you, and once you can sort of observe it, and that's what I did, that's what seeing it on the Scale of Consciousness really like almost tapped me immediately into becoming the observer of the energy and what was going on. And it really was easy to release it from there. It was like I shifted as soon as I knew the trigger and as soon as I could label the energy that I was experiencing. It was really cool. It was a really deep shift for me last night.
And so we want you guys to be this place where you are untouchable, where you get to have this inner work within yourself. And every now moment, if things are coming up for you, you get to choose love, because love is in the highest scale of consciousness. Instead of staying in that lower scale of consciousness with fear and allowing, mind to creep up and have these lower scale of energy, because Elizabeth's like, why am I feeling this? And that's totally the conversation we had. But have you guys ever noticed that, where you are totally fine and out of nowhere, something within you just kind of gets bubbled up? And how powerful is it to work your way up the scale of consciousness and feel into these energies and know, I'm not these energies. What is it within me? And what I realized, love, is when you realize which scale of consciousness you were in, you were able to give yourself consciousness in that fear, in that lower scale energy.
I think that's what made it so much easier to release, because literally moments later, I was like almost like laughing about it, because it was like, once I gave it consciousness, it was like, I am not that shame. Like I have nothing, I am soul. I have nothing to be ashamed of. I have nothing to be embarrassed of. Not only is that the past that the mind was clinging to and holding on to, and that's the energies that resurfaced, was, so something happened a couple weeks ago that's what this trigger started, that I had held on to and stepped away a couple weeks ago because I had been embarrassed and not even realized what I had done to be embarrassed. But basically I was people pleasing, and I had felt like really insecure in this exchange I had with some people. And this feeling of shame and unworthiness came up within me, and I shoved it down as soon as that interaction happened, and I didn't allow myself to work through it. So last night when this trigger happened, it brought up those feelings I had a couple weeks ago that I'd shoved down. And instead of shoving it back down again, it was like, why am I feeling this? What is going on? I feel the energy. I was able to work with the energy and really, really work with it instead of shoving it down. And that was what was so cool. And that was what was so empowering, is like, okay, I get it. I'm not this energy. It's coming up from some place, and it's coming up from some emotion that the mind was clinging to. So let's get to the root of it, and let me work on figuring out how to release it. And I did that, like you said, Joanne, by becoming the conscious one that realized that this energy was not me.
You guys, this is so powerful, because before we used to be swayed with energies of emotion and became that energy of emotion because we thought it was us. And now that we know we are soul, we are peace, we are presence, and we are the conscious observers of these emotions, We now get to release the shackles of the mind, send conscious energy of love to the fear, and raise our levels of consciousness of being the conscious one. Why would we want to be like stuffed in this lower scale from fear, other than the fact that mind wants to keep us there, but we conscious, like you were laughing. So we now get to be that place of awareness. And we get to now send awareness to our fears. Because my loves, we're not the fear. The fear is, it's our way of holding on to the old energies of past. Like you said, this is something I didn't deal with. Because I didn't deal with it, it's coming up for me again. And honestly, if you didn't deal with it then again, it would just be stuffed in within you and not be released. It would continue to come up for you. It would continue to come up for you until you would be able to work through it. And that's the beautiful part, love. All of us, we now are awakened and conscious, and we get to now choose how we are able to maintain our presence and our peace in all of our interactions. And what we're saying is, this isn't easy, by all means. This is hard inner work to be able to work through the scale of consciousness when things come around you. And the first thing that the mind wants to do is get in fear mode, get in the lower scale. And honestly, we are allowing ourselves to be easily swayed by externals, because that's what this fear that came on, it was from external factors that you stuffed inside. But you said so yourself, I'm normally like really chill, like I'm peace. I'm so calm. But when external factors come within us, and then we starting to take on this lower scale of consciousness, we then meet other people in the lower scale, even though we're naturally in the higher scale. And what we're showing you with this, so this is an example for you, all of you. When you experience any type of trigger, or just really feel yourself, feel into yourself. What is happening to me right now? And that's exactly the call I got from Elizabeth. Because remember, Elizabeth's usually peace, love, joy. She's at least neutrality in the above. I don't know what's wrong with Joanne. Like, this is the conversation. I don't know what's wrong with me, Joanne. I'm usually really at peace, but I feel X, Y, and Z. And why am I feeling this way? Because I know this isn't who I am. And that's when you get to spiritually give yourself this space internally to feel in the energies that you're feeling, and work your way up the scale of consciousness to give consciousness in that emotion of fear, anger, pain. And for this specific scenario, yours that came up was...
Mine was shame. Yeah.
Shame. And that's the thing too, is like, it's associated with a story that mind gave to itself, that you now was giving yourself a hard time of something, because we think now that we're in a place where we are always conscious of all the energies we take in, we don't realize we're putting ourselves in the lower scale subconsciously. And when we give ourselves the space, so if I'm being triggered, I'm going to pull up, and I always do this, and I recommend this for anybody. Pull up the scale of consciousness and find out in the moment you're in, where am I? And look to see where you're at on the scale and work your way up. It might take a really long time to identify where you're at, but this is that inner truth. It's that inner alignment. Where am I at right now? And wherever that is in the scale, work your way to the place to where you can work your way up to neutrality. So if it was anger, what energies are coming up for you, and what areas of past or future are being worked on through your mind energies, that's clinging and holding on to that scale that's keeping you from the higher scale of consciousness.
This was what's really cool. So when you just said that, like the past. So even though this encounter I had a couple weeks ago brought up the shame and this people pleasing, the root, like the really deeper root of it was actually from childhood and on through like adolescence and young adulthood, even into adulthood which was this, I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough. And if someone doesn't respond to me, again, that external factor, if someone doesn't respond to me with the reaction I'm hoping from them, and somehow I'm basing my self-image on their reaction to me. And that's where the shame came, was I had this interaction with someone and they were not as nice and kind to me as I have been used to being around people. And so it was like this unworthiness came within me that was really deep rooted. And the mind naturally goes to that place of I'm not worthy if someone doesn't immediately seem to really like being around me. And it was like, I based my own, like the mind based its worthiness on the reaction of someone else. And that was what needed to be released, was like, and that's why it was almost laughable afterwards. Like, so I'm the mind based worthiness from someone I just met. Like, it's so crazy. Yeah. But that's what it did.
It's crazy.
And be able to call it out and see it.
That's the part of us before that didn't feel worthiness, and we had to get worthiness from externals. And now that you can like be present and be like, I don't need everyone to love me. I love me. I'm enough. That's what you're able to laugh and be like, yeah, this means nothing to me. These are complete strangers. Why does the mind have so much precedence over this very simple, very long time ago interaction that it's still clinging into making it a story and clouding your present moment? And when you released it through the scale of consciousness, love, how quickly did you feel at peace or at least neutrality?
Oh my gosh.
I know we're not going to get to peace right away, but how did you feel
seriously,
after you worked through the scale? Yeah, go ahead.
So from start to finish, everything from the moment I got triggered to the moment I released it was maybe 20 minutes total, right? So the first few minutes, the first 5-10 minutes was me journaling it out. Then it was me calling you, and 5 minutes on our phone call, I figured out what was going on. And then me pulling up the scale of consciousness, looking it, and within moments, it was like, poof, it literally released, and I started laughing about it. And it was like, I'm ready to move on. That feeling, that energy that was in my stomach was totally gone. And it was like, holy smokes, this is a game changer in looking at how to release these stored energies that I hadn't actively done. Like, I'm really good with sitting with myself and releasing stuff, but how quick it was when I pulled up that scale of consciousness and was able to label and identify the energy, boom, it was like dissipated instantly.
It's totally a game changer because you stay conscious of any energies. And this is that untouchable spiritual badass, right? The one that I told you guys that every day I'm like, how do I not be swayable, touchable, and like impacted by anyone that comes near me? It is me staying conscious of every single energy that comes through me, understand where I'm standing, and choosing to give consciousness to that energy. I see you, mind. I see that you are in this scale. I allow you to be in the scale. I'm going to watch you be in the scale. And then poof, soul was like, I'm untouchable. I need nothing. I don't need validation. Why did I allow myself to be in that scale? Stayed in mind and went right back to neutrality. And it's so, so cool to be in this place where you get to stay in a higher scale. Because let's get real, we are manifesting in every now. And so if we're clinging to these lower scale consciousness energies of fear, anger, jealousy, and staying in that energy, we're manifesting through that energy. And there's going to be resistance. There's going to be energies that are impacting you from reaching your fullest potential. But when you can now quickly identify, ooh, my alignment is off, let me recalibrate, right? That's how I kind of think of Abraham Hicks. It's recalibrating yourself back into presence. Let me give myself space to watch these fear-based energies come through me and know where I'm at in the scale and realign myself so that I can always get myself back to neutrality and above. And we used to just be in the whims of these energies, loves. We would, I mean, think about it. It would stay in us. I mean, there's people that carry this in their bodies for years and years and years. And here you are finding something that happened to you years ago, now no longer stuffing that energy within you and can hop out of it in like 20 minutes. That's profound. That's huge.
Yeah, it is. It is amazing. And it's so liberating. It's so freeing. It is like, I get to control there.
Yeah. You get to now no longer be touched by others, and you get to now be present. That's what we're teaching ourselves to be. We get to be present in every now. And if for any reason the mind is clinging to a past, let's sit with ourselves and find out why and work our way to a place where we can get back to presence again so that we can be the best for everyone around us. We can't be the best for everyone around us in this present moment if we're stuck in the past. And we can't manifest into the highest scale of consciousness if we're still holding on to the lower scale of consciousness because of what happened to us when we were younger, because we weren't treated a certain way. We are clinging to the lower scale, and we will always naturally go there until we work through these internally, find out where the root cause is, and sit with that energy until we realize again, I'm not that energy. What is this energy? And you laughed at it. You're like, what? And that's why it didn't make sense it got there. Have you guys ever noticed you're totally feeling well and feeling wonderful, and out of nowhere you're like, why am I thinking about something that happened to me in high school? What the heck, right? That's us having these subconscious energies that still stuck and haven't been released until we figure out, oh, wow, being next to this person is putting me in a place where I am in jealousy energy. And now you get to watch that energy of jealousy and get to this place where it doesn't matter if you're with that person again, you know, those energies that are coming through you, that's something that you stuck inside you before you even met that person. You know what I mean? Like years ago, maybe it was something that your parents and your siblings, like you combated then and never worked through. Regardless, at this now moment, whatever is coming up for you, give it the space it needs to know where you are at in a scale of consciousness so that you can always work your way up to neutrality and above, which is what soul is. Because in the end of the day, any energies in the lower scale is simply mind. It's fear. It's holding on to the past. And we are always going to be able to manifest and bring in most of our highest desire through the highest scale, which is who we are. The more we align with soul and the more that we are present with our true being, the less and less we will bring in fears and manifesting through our fear. Instead, manifesting through love. Well, I love you guys so much, you beautiful goddesses. We hope you enjoyed this video, and we hope you have an amazing day. Love you. Bye, love.
Love you. Bye.